All right, the gravy train keeps on rolling, man. Ever since the Glenn O'Leary viral video, Mark Millar getting involved, even Rob Liefeld sort of chiming in from the sidelines, which, by the way, he's deleted his tweet. So I guess, Rob, you don't have the convictions that I thought you have. Plus, he unfriended me after defending him. Isn't that amazing? But like I said, that train keeps on going. Here we got an article from Cosmic News. Comic book editor exposes pros who want to destroy local comic shops. They want the direct market to collapse and can't stand comic book shop owners. Well, we're going to have a look at this. We're going to do the deep dive here. Following up on that comic book store owner going viral, which is Glenn O'Leary of the Comic Book Palace, by the way. They don't tell you that. Now, a comic book editor takes to Twitter to expose that pros hate and that are trying to destroy comic book shops and the direct market. Valerie D'Orazio, and I'm probably butchered that wrong, Valerie, and I apologize, who has worked at the big two, DC and Marvel Comics, had tweeted in length, John, that the goal of a number of comic industry and media professionals has been, and for a while, to see the direct market finally collapse, making bookstores and libraries the main places to carry comic book material. So let's stop right there. Why do you think that would be? Because that's how they were reading comic books, right? So you hear all these stories. I've heard them a lot lately. I was too poor to buy comics, so I had to go to the library to read comics, yada yada yada, right? Or I'm buying my Dog Man or my manga at the bookstore, and so they want it to be like the way that they had their experiences. They don't want the quote unquote, right, dingy old hole in the wall comic book shop with some fat white dude slobbering all over every female that walks in sort of mentality. But that's where comic books are sold. And that's not even to put down the comic book shops myself. I've been in some places like that. And I've been in some very nice places like my local comic book shop, which seems to be doing well. But just because they're doing well doesn't mean comics are doing well or means other shops are doing well. My shop, by the way, happens to dabble in Funko Pops and manga, Magic the Gathering, and all the cool things that the kids are into. It's not just comics, though they still carry and have a huge selection of new comics, indie comics, and back issues. Shout out to you guys. Mark Millar also chimed in and said Valerie is a former editor at DC Comics, as well as MTV, and has always had amazing insights into the comic book world. Have a read. So, Valerie continues and says that there is a class bias against comic book stores, and this reflects a long-standing embarrassment on the part of some comic book industry pros. She continues and says that they refer to the comic book owners as low-class, uncouth, barbarians. I don't know if I got that one word right. And feels that the pros are superior to the nerds, and they feel that they are the cool comic book fans. So here what we got, right, is a classic case of elitism. We're the pros. We know better than you. We're going to tell you what you're going to like, and you're going to like it. Here's the pill. We're going to open your mouth. We're going to force it down your throat and swallow it. But here's the thing. As many times as they try to do that, many fans are sticking their fingers down their throats and throwing up those very pills that they've been forced to swallow for so many years. Valerie also says that the pros care little about the comics and hope that their comics get picked up by Hollywood. That's probably the biggest issue right there. Everyone in this world, right, ever since the internet basically came about and people learned that you can become famous on the internet, that you can go viral, all the everything that we've been going on through for the last, say, decade at least, is all because people want to be famous, whether that's through TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, or they're like comic book writers that become producers of movie studios, and it's their book that became the latest Marvel film. They all want to be famous. Everyone. Yours included. I want to be famous. Who doesn't? But I'm just pointing out that there's only so many stars, and you have to have so many fans. Okay. That is that the rights get purchased for TV, movies, etc., which in these days is largely the direct goal of increasing number of comic creators. Because there's more money, of course, if you are getting royalties from an MCU movie. Comics as literally glorified storyboard pitches proposals rather than an entity that exists on its own merit as a comic book for an audience to be cultivated. True. True. The goal of the number of comics industry media professionals has been for a while to see the direct market finally collapse. Here is the sort of like direct quote. So you can read, if you want to read the entire statement, it's there. It's fairly long. I mean, we'll touch upon it. I mean, we already touched upon the first part. Um, they want their books to be in libraries and bookstores, support the media that they produce, and the drive for numbers and profits aren't so much of an immediate issue as with the direct market space. Rather, the graphic novels and such are treated more like a rarefied entity in the book space, more like beautiful ideas that just exist on their own merit. Number two, there is a class bias against direct market comic book stores in favor of more dignified bookstores and library scenario. Yeah, they want to be in a place where they can sit and drink their Starbucks and have their lattes and, you know, have their safe space, if you will. This reflects a long-standing embarrassment on the part of the comic book industry professionals and scholars regarding ye olde local comic shops, as they often and most improbably cast as being run by low-class, uncouth barbarians, aka the comic book guy from The Simpsons is often invoked. A part of the reason they feel this way is their own insecurities, and another part is the reason they feel this way is because, to a degree, they are snobs. Plain and simple, right? Again, this comes down to elitism. We see it in all sorts of fan bases, right? Whether it's gaming, music, comics, you name it. Probably even in wine collecting, wine tasting. I don't have a horse to run in this whole debate. I have nothing to sell you. No comics, no pitches, not anymore. I'm just telling you this because it is the way it is. And honestly, these people may succeed in seeing the demise of the direct market. I think that if we don't change right now, they will. And honestly, these people may succeed in changing the direct market. And if you point blank ask them about that, it will be the first. They'll be the first to tell you that nothing will give them more joy. Even though at the heart of what made the comic book lore, canon, mythology so rich and so vast in the 70s, 80s was linked with the fan comic book shop matrix, a place where fans can share ideas, meet other fans in person, and then took that energy and magic to the conventions. Now, and the local comic book store has essentially, in many small towns, working class areas, the traditional hub for young people who had an inherent interest in fantasy, art, and literature to discover these characters for the very first time and build little communities of fans on their own. I remember, having the comic book club, right? And you would meet like once or twice a month at the library and you do fun activities, but mainly what it was really for was so people could trade comic books, right? Hey man, do you got this issue or that issue? It's like, when you're swapping video games or swapping trading cards, like we used to do that in comics way back in the day. But what do I know? Why even speak? I've only been doing this shit for shit. I've only been watching this shit ongoing, sometimes in the most personal, direct way possible. Talking at length to some of the comic industry peeps themselves for over 20 years, John. Years. But I'm not a fancy fan. I'm not an elegant comic fan, pro, or whatever have you. I come from a very working class background. Went to City College and spent a great deal of my life since early childhood going to the local comic book store to purchase the adventures of the heroes that shaped my life. And I'm gonna follow this person. I think Valerie here is speaking truth. I think a lot of people are spitting truth right now, and I think it's got a lot of different comic book pros scared. If you look on the side here, we see Cancel Pigs is trending. That will have to be my next sort of fake live, if you will. Speaking of fake live, I want to thank you for joining me. Tonight, we will be really live. Last night, we were supposed to do the Mark Millar retailer interview EFAP, but that didn't get dropped till really, really late. So I'm going to do that tonight. We'll see who joins me. So subscribe and sub up for that. The Super Chat Challenge is still on. If you Super Chat us tonight, send me your email address or just hit me up on social media, and I will fire off to you a digital copy of the original Nyobi #1. Plus, there's a Jim O'Reilly art challenge, which we'll get into later tonight. Don't forget that I have an eBay store, a Gumroad store, a Teespring store. Okay? Where you can pick up Niobe on the digital, physical, or nice Niobe merch like that beautiful hooded sweater I was wearing the other night. Also, I have Niobe Penguina on Indiegogo that can really use some love. So however you want to support Niobe, however you do it is much appreciated, and we will see you a little bit later tonight. Thank you.